Financial Literacy, written and published by Life. Before you change your bank account, change your brain. This simple truth separates those who build lasting wealth from those who struggle financially their entire lives. Your relationship with money isn't just about numbers on a page or dollars in your wallet. It's about the deep-seated beliefs, thoughts, and attitudes that drive every financial decision you make. Most people approach money backwards. They focus on tactics and strategies without ever examining the mental programming that controls their financial behavior. They read about budgeting techniques and saving methods, but they never address the underlying beliefs that keep them trapped in cycles of financial struggle. This is like trying to drive a car with the parking brake engaged. You might make some progress, but you'll never reach your full potential. The difference between wealthy thinking and broke thinking isn't about intelligence or education. It's about fundamental beliefs that shape how you view money, opportunity, and your own capabilities. People with a scarcity mindset believe that money is hard to come by, that wealthy people are somehow different from them, and that financial success requires luck or connections they don't have. They operate from fear, constantly worried about losing what little they have. Those with an abundance mindset understand that money is a tool that can be learned and mastered. They believe in their ability to create value and generate income. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. Most importantly, they understand that their financial situation is largely the result of their decisions and actions, which means they have the power to change it. 1. Upgrade your money mindset. Your current financial situation is the perfect reflection of your money beliefs up to this point. If you're struggling to save money, living paycheck to paycheck, or feeling overwhelmed by debt, these aren't character flaws or permanent conditions. They're simply the logical outcome of operating with limiting beliefs about money and your own capabilities. One of the most destructive beliefs people carry is that wanting money makes them greedy or materialistic. This belief creates internal conflict every time you try to improve your financial situation. Your conscious mind wants to build wealth, but your subconscious mind sabotages your efforts because it believes that doing so would make you a bad person. This creates a pattern of taking one step forward and 2 steps back financially. Money is simply a medium of exchange, a tool that amplifies who you already are. If you're a generous person, having more money allows you to be more generous. If you value security and peace of mind, money provides those things. If you want to spend more time with your family or pursue meaningful work, money creates those opportunities. The idea that money corrupts people or that poverty is somehow more virtuous, one of the biggest obstacles to financial success. Another limiting belief that keeps people stuck is the idea that their background or current circumstances determine their financial future. They believe that because they didn't grow up wealthy, don't have advanced degrees, or don't know the right people, they can't build significant wealth. This belief ignores the fundamental truth that money skills can be learned by anyone willing to invest the time and effort. The wealthy understand something that most people miss. Money is predictable. There are specific principles and strategies that, when applied consistently, lead to financial success. These aren't secrets known only to a select few. They're time-tested methods that anyone can learn and implement. The difference is that wealthy people actually study money the same way others might study a hobby or profession. Creating a compelling vision of your rich life is essential because it provides the motivation to push through the challenges and setbacks that inevitably arise on your wealth-building journey. This vision isn't about impressing others or buying expensive things. It's about designing a life that aligns with your deepest values and provides the freedom to make choices based on what matters most to you. Your rich life might involve traveling the world, starting a foundation to help others, spending more time with family, or pursuing creative projects without worrying about income. It might mean having the security of knowing you can handle any financial emergency or the peace of mind that comes from being completely debt-free. The specific details matter less than creating a vision that genuinely excites and motivates you. When setting financial goals, most people focus only on outcomes, without considering the processes and identity changes required to achieve them. They might set a goal to save a certain amount of money or pay off debt by a specific date, but they don't think about what kind of person they need to become to make that goal inevitable. This approach leads to frustration because they're trying to achieve new results with the same old thinking and habits. Effective goal setting requires alignment between your desired outcomes, the processes you'll use to achieve them, and the identity you need to develop. If your goal is to build significant wealth, you need to develop the daily habits of wealthy people and begin thinking of yourself as someone who is good with money. This identity shift is crucial because your actions naturally flow from how you see yourself. Understanding common behavior traps can help you avoid the mistakes that derail most people's financial progress. Lifestyle inflation is one of the most insidious wealth killers. As income increases, expenses tend to rise at the same rate or even faster. People justify these increases by telling themselves they deserve to enjoy their success, but they end up trapped in a cycle of earning more while saving less. Social comparison is another trap that prevents people from building wealth. They make financial decisions based on what others are doing rather than what makes sense for their own situation. They buy cars, homes, or clothes to keep up with friends or coworkers, not realizing that many of these people are drowning in debt to maintain their lifestyle. True wealth is often invisible because it's sitting in accounts rather than displayed through expensive possessions. The sunk cost fallacy causes people to continue investing time and money into things that aren't working simply because they've already invested so much. This might manifest as staying in a career that doesn't pay well because of the years already invested, or continuing to make minimum payments on debt instead of taking more aggressive action because that's what they've always done. Developing a wealth mindset requires consistent practice and reinforcement. Just like physical fitness, mental fitness requires regular exercise. This means regularly exposing yourself to ideas and information that reinforce positive money beliefs while actively challenging thoughts and assumptions that limit your financial potential. One of the most powerful practices for upgrading your money mindset is to regularly visualize your rich life in vivid detail. See yourself living in the home you want, doing the work you love, and having the freedom to make choices based on your values rather than financial constraints. Feel the emotions associated with achieving your financial goals. This practice programs your subconscious mind to look for opportunities and solutions that align with your vision. Another important practice is to notice and challenge limiting thoughts about money as they arise. When you catch yourself thinking that you're not good with money, that wealthy people are different from you, or that your financial situation is hopeless, consciously replace these thoughts with more empowering alternatives. This might feel artificial at first, but over time, these new thought patterns will become automatic. Your money mindset determines not just how much wealth you'll build, but how much you'll enjoy the process of building it. People with a positive relationship with money find the journey rewarding and engaging. They see each financial decision as an opportunity to move closer to their goals rather than a source of stress or anxiety. The transformation from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen faster than you might think. As you begin applying the principles and strategies in this book, you'll start seeing evidence that you can control your financial destiny. These small wins build confidence and reinforce the belief that you have what it takes to build significant wealth. Taking action to write your rich life vision and set your first 90-day money goal creates immediate momentum and begins the process of aligning your daily actions with your prize. Long-term vision. This simple exercise forces you to get clear about what you actually want and creates a roadmap for getting there. More importantly, it begins rewiring your brain to see yourself as someone who takes control of their financial future rather than hoping things will somehow work out on their own. 2. Build your cash flow engine. If you can master cash flow, you can master wealth. This single truth separates those who struggle with money from those who build lasting prosperity. Cash flow is the lifeblood of your financial future, yet most people treat it like a mysterious force beyond their control. They wait until the end of the month to see what's left, hoping somehow there will be enough. This backwards approach keeps people trapped in cycles of stress and scarcity. The wealthy understand a fundamental principle that escapes most others. You must direct your money with intention before you spend it, not after. Every dollar that flows through your hands represents a choice, and those choices compound over time to create either abundance or struggle. When you build a proper cash flow engine, money becomes a tool that works for you rather than a source of constant worry. Think of your financial life as a river system. Without proper channels and dams, water flows chaotically, creating floods in some areas and droughts in others. But when you engineer the flow with intention, that same water becomes a source of power and abundance. Your income is the river, and your cash flow system provides the structure that transforms random spending into wealth building. The foundation of any effective cash flow system rests on a simple but powerful concept: pay yourself first. This means the moment money arrives in your possession, you immediately direct a portion toward your future self before any other expenses occur. This isn't about finding leftover money at the end of the month. It's about making your financial future the highest priority, not an afterthought. Most people do this backwards. They pay everyone else first and then try to save whatever remains. The problem with this approach is that expenses naturally expand to consume available income. When you save what's left over, there's rarely anything meaningful remaining. Your future self gets the scraps while everyone else gets the feast. When you pay yourself first, something magical happens. Your spending naturally adjusts to the reduced available income, but your savings remain protected. You're forced to find efficiencies and make better choices with the remaining money, but your wealth building continues without interruption. This single shift in sequence can transform your entire financial trajectory. The mechanics of paying yourself first require automation to be truly effective. Manual transfers depend on willpower and memory, both of which fail when life gets busy or challenging. Instead, set up automatic transfers that move money from your income source to savings and investment accounts before you have a chance to spend it. This removes the temptation and makes wealth building as reliable as any other fixed expense. The timing of these transfers matters significantly. Schedule them to occur immediately after your income arrives, not at random dates throughout the month. When your paycheck deposits on Friday, your automatic transfers should execute on Friday or the following Monday. This ensures your future self gets paid before lifestyle expenses can claim those dollars. Creating an effective budget structure provides the framework for your cash flow engine to operate smoothly. Two approaches work particularly well, depending on your personality and financial complexity. The 50-30-20 method offers simplicity and flexibility, while zero-based budgeting provides maximum control and awareness. The 50-30-20 approach allocates your after-tax income into three broad categories. 50% covers essential needs like housing, food, transportation, and minimum debt payments. 30% funds, wants, and lifestyle choices, including entertainment, dining out, and discretionary purchases. 20% goes entirely toward financial goals, including emergency funds, debt payoff above minimums, and investments. This method works well for people who prefer broad guidelines over detailed tracking. It provides structure without requiring you to categorize every small expense. The key is being honest about the difference between needs and wants, and maintaining discipline with the 20% wealth-building allocation regardless of how tempting other spending might seem. Zero-based budgeting takes a more detailed approach by assigning every dollar of income to a specific category before the month begins. This method requires you to plan your spending intentionally and ensures no money flows randomly toward unknown purposes. Every dollar has a job, whether that's paying rent, building emergency funds, or covering entertainment expenses. Zero-based budgeting creates higher awareness of spending patterns and forces difficult conversations about priorities. It works particularly well for people who enjoy detailed control or who are working to break problematic spending habits. The additional effort required can pay significant dividends in financial awareness and optimization. Regardless of which budgeting approach you choose, certain categories deserve special attention due to their wealth-building importance. Emergency funds represent your financial foundation, providing stability and peace of mind when unexpected expenses arise. Without this buffer, any financial setback can derail your progress and force you into debt. The appropriate emergency fund size depends on your life circumstances and risk factors. People with stable employment and predictable expenses can often manage with 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. Those with variable income, health concerns, or family obligations may need 6 to 12 months of coverage. The goal is having enough resources to handle most emergencies without disrupting your long-term financial plans. Emergency funds should be kept in boring, easily accessible accounts that prioritize safety over returns. High-yield savings accounts provide reasonable interest while maintaining liquidity and principal protection. Avoid the temptation to invest emergency funds in volatile assets or tie them up in accounts with withdrawal restrictions. When emergencies strike, you need immediate access to these resources. Sinking funds represent another powerful cash flow tool that prevents unexpected expenses from derailing your progress. These are targeted savings accounts for predictable but irregular expenses like car repairs, home maintenance, vacations, or holiday gifts. Instead of treating these costs as emergencies, you save small amounts regularly so the money is available when needed. The beauty of sinking funds lies in their ability to smooth out your cash flow and eliminate financial stress around predictable expenses. When your car needs new tires, the money is already waiting instead of forcing you to juggle other priorities or use credit cards. This planning transforms potentially stressful situations into minor inconveniences. Understanding where your money actually goes requires periodic examination through spending audits. Most people have a general sense of their major expenses but remain surprisingly unaware of smaller, recurring charges and discretionary spending patterns. A 7-day detailed spending audit reveals the truth about your money habits and often uncovers opportunities for optimization. During your spending audit, track every dollar that leaves your possession regardless of the amount or method. Include cash purchases, card transactions, automatic payments, and digital payments through apps or online services. The goal isn't judgment, but awareness. You can't optimize what you don't measure. This audit frequently reveals forgotten subscriptions, inflated service costs, and unconscious spending patterns that drain significant money over time. Small recurring charges of $10 or $20 monthly add up to hundreds of dollars annually. Discretionary purchases that feel insignificant individually often total surprising amounts when aggregated over time. The found money discovered through spending audits can be immediately redirected toward wealth-building goals without requiring lifestyle sacrifices. Canceling unused subscriptions, negotiating better rates on services, and eliminating thoughtless spending can often free up hundreds of dollars monthly for savings and investments. Your cash flow engine requires regular maintenance and adjustment to remain effective. Life circumstances change, income fluctuates, and priorities evolve over time. Schedule monthly reviews to ensure your system continues serving your goals effectively. These reviews should examine your budget performance, evaluate your progress toward savings targets, and make necessary adjustments for the coming month. The power of an effective cash flow system extends far beyond simple budgeting. It creates the foundation for every other aspect of wealth building. You can't invest consistently without surplus cash flow. You can't build emergency funds without directed saving. You can't optimize your financial life without understanding your money patterns. When your cash flow engine operates smoothly, financial stress diminishes significantly. You stop wondering if there will be enough money for important goals because you've already allocated resources toward those purposes. You sleep better knowing unexpected expenses won't create financial chaos because your emergency fund provides protection. You feel confident about your financial future because you're actively building it with every paycheck. The transition from financial chaos to cash flow mastery doesn't happen overnight, but the benefits begin immediately. Every dollar you direct intentionally toward your goals, instead of allowing it to disappear into random spending, moves you closer to true wealth. Every automatic transfer that occurs without your intervention builds momentum toward financial freedom. Start building your cash flow engine today by automating transfers from your income source to savings and investment accounts. Choose a budgeting method that matches your personality and circumstances. Conduct a spending audit to understand your current patterns and identify optimization opportunities. These actions will transform your relationship with money from reactive to proactive, from stressful to empowering. 3. Credit as a power tool, not a trap. Good credit quietly makes you richer. Bad credit taxes your future. Most people think about credit all wrong. They either fear it completely, treating credit cards like financial poison, or they abuse it, racking up balances they cannot pay off. The truth sits somewhere in the middle. Credit is simply a tool, and like any tool, it can build something valuable or cause serious damage depending on how you use it. Think of credit like a chainsaw. In the hands of someone who understands how it works and respects its power, it can clear a path through the forest and build something beautiful. In careless hands, it can cause devastating harm. The difference lies entirely in knowledge, preparation, and discipline. When you understand how credit really works, you can use it to your advantage in ways that compound your wealth over time. Your credit score is essentially a report card that measures how responsibly you handle borrowed money. This 3-digit number, typically ranging from 300 to 850, influences far more than just whether you can get a loan. Landlords check it before renting to you. Insurance companies use it to set your rates. Some employers review it as part of their hiring process. A strong credit score opens doors and saves you money, while a poor score closes opportunities and costs you thousands of dollars over your lifetime. The scoring system considers 5 main factors, each weighted differently in the final calculation. Payment history carries the most weight at about 35% of your score. This factor looks at whether you pay your bills on time, how often you miss payments, and how recently any late payments occurred. Even one missed payment can drop your score by 50 to 100 points, and the damage lingers for years. The good news is that payment history is completely under your control. Set up automatic payments for at least the minimum amount due, and you will never miss a payment again. Credit utilization accounts for about 30% of your score and measures how much of your available credit you actually use. If you have a card with a $1,000 limit and carry a $300 balance, your utilization rate is 30%. The scoring models prefer to see utilization below 30%, with rates under 10% earning the highest scores. Here is where many people make a costly mistake. They think carrying a small balance helps their credit score. This is completely false. You get maximum credit benefits by using your cards regularly, but paying the full balance before the statement closing date. The length of your credit history makes up about 15% of your score. This factor looks at how long your accounts have been open and how long it has been since you used them. Time works in your favor here, which is why financial experts often recommend keeping your oldest credit card open, even if you rarely use it. Closing your oldest account can hurt your score by shortening your average account age. Your credit mix contributes about 10% to your score. The scoring models like to see that you can handle different types of credit responsibly. This might include credit cards, an auto loan, a mortgage, or a personal loan. You should never take on debt just to improve your credit mix. But having a variety of account types can provide a small boost if you manage them well. New credit inquiries round out the remaining 10%. Each time you apply for credit, the lender requests your credit report, creating what is called a hard inquiry. Too many hard inquiries in a short period suggest you might be desperate for credit, which makes lenders nervous. However, the scoring models are smart enough to recognize when you are shopping for the best rate on a single loan. Multiple inquiries for the same type of credit within a 14 to 45-day window typically count as just one inquiry. Understanding these factors allows you to use credit strategically rather than stumbling around in the dark. Start by obtaining copies of your credit reports from all 3 major credit bureaus. You can get these free once per year, and you should review them carefully for errors. Mistakes are more common than you might think, and disputing incorrect information can boost your score quickly. When you find errors, dispute them immediately. Write a letter to the credit bureau explaining the mistake and include any supporting documentation. The bureau has 30 days to investigate and respond. If they cannot verify the information, they must remove it from your report. This process costs nothing but your time, and it can be incredibly powerful for improving your credit standing. Once you have clean credit reports, focus on optimizing your credit card strategy. The key is to use credit cards for their benefits while never paying a penny in interest. This approach requires discipline, but it allows you to earn rewards, build credit, and even take advantage of promotional offers without falling into the debt trap. Choose cards that align with your spending patterns and financial goals. If you spend a lot on groceries, Find a card that offers extra rewards on supermarket purchases. If you travel frequently, look for cards with travel benefits and no foreign transaction fees. Pay attention to annual fees and make sure the benefits outweigh the costs. Many excellent cards charge no annual fee and still offer substantial rewards. Set up automatic payments to ensure you never miss a due date, but pay more than the minimum required. Ideally, pay your full balance before the statement closing date to keep your utilization rate as low as possible. If you cannot pay the full balance, at least pay it down to less than 10% of your credit limit before the statement closes. Take advantage of promotional offers when they make financial sense. 0% introductory rates can be valuable tools for making large purchases or consolidating higher rate debt, but only if you have a concrete plan to pay off the balance before the promotional rate expires. Never use these offers as an excuse to spend money you do not have or to avoid addressing underlying spending problems. Understanding the difference between APR and APY helps you make better financial decisions. APR, or annual percentage rate, represents the cost of borrowing money and includes both the interest rate and any additional fees. APY, or annual percentage yield, shows how much you earn on savings accounts and investments, including the effect of compounding. When borrowing, you want the lowest APR possible. When saving or investing, you want the highest APY available. Credit card companies make money in several ways, and understanding their business model helps you use their products more effectively. They earn interchange fees every time you swipe your card, which is why they want you to use their cards frequently. They also make money from annual fees, late fees, over-limit fees, and cash advance fees. Most importantly for their bottom line, they earn interest when you carry a balance from month to month. This is where the real profit lies, which is exactly why you want to avoid giving it to them. When you pay your balance in full each month, you become what the industry calls a transactor. You use their services, earn rewards, and contribute to their interchange fee revenue, but you never pay interest. Some people worry that credit card companies dislike customers who never pay interest, but this is not true. Transactors are profitable customers who cost little to service and rarely default on their accounts. Building excellent credit takes time, but you can see improvements relatively quickly with the right approach. Set utilization alerts on your cards so you know when your balance approaches 10% of your limit. Pay your cards twice monthly instead of once to keep balances lower throughout the billing cycle. Use your cards regularly for normal expenses to show activity, but never spend more than you can afford to pay off immediately. Avoid common credit mistakes that can set you back for years. Never close old cards unless they have annual fees that outweigh their benefits. Never max out your credit cards, even if you plan to pay them off quickly. Never apply for multiple cards in a short period unless you are executing a specific strategy and understand the temporary impact on your score. Never co-sign for someone else unless you are prepared to take full responsibility for the debt. Your credit utilization alert system becomes one of your most powerful tools for maintaining excellent credit. Set alerts at 10% of each card's limit and pay down balances immediately when you receive notifications. This simple system prevents you from accidentally hurting your credit score and keeps you aware of your spending patterns. Credit scores are not permanent. They change constantly based on new information reported to the credit bureaus. A poor score today does not doom you to a lifetime of bad credit, just as a good score today does not guarantee future approval if you start making mistakes. Stay vigilant, monitor your reports regularly, and treat credit with the respect it deserves. The goal is not to have perfect credit for its own sake, but to use credit as a tool that supports your broader financial objectives. Excellent credit saves you money on interest rates, insurance premiums, and even utility deposits. It gives you access to the best credit card rewards programs and promotional offers. Most importantly, it provides financial flexibility when opportunities arise or emergencies occur. Use this knowledge to make credit work for you instead of against you. Set those utilization alerts today, automate your payments, and start treating your credit cards like the powerful financial tools they can be when used properly. 4. Crush debt with a battle plan debt-free isn't a dream. It's a math and motivation strategy. The weight of debt can feel crushing, like carrying a heavy backpack that never comes off. Every monthly payment is a reminder that part of your future earnings already belong to someone else. But here's the truth most people don't realize. Becoming debt-free isn't about willpower or luck. It's about having a clear battle plan and executing it with precision. The first step in any debt elimination strategy is understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt helps you build wealth over time or increases your earning capacity. A mortgage on a property that appreciates in value falls into this category, as does an educational loan that dramatically increases your income potential. These debts often come with lower interest rates and tax advantages. Bad debt, on the other hand, is like quicksand for your finances. Credit card balances for consumer purchases, payday loans, and car loans with high interest rates are examples of debt that drain your wealth. These debts typically carry high interest rates and are used to purchase items that lose value over time. The key is recognizing which category each of your debts falls into, because this will influence your payment strategy. Once you've categorized your debts, it's time to choose your elimination method. The two most popular approaches are the debt snowball and the debt avalanche, and each has its own psychological and mathematical advantages. The debt snowball method focuses on paying off your smallest balances first, regardless of interest rate. You make minimum payments on all debts, then throw every extra dollar at the smallest balance until it's gone. Once that debt is eliminated, you take the entire payment amount you were making on that debt and apply it to the next smallest balance. This creates momentum as you see debts disappearing quickly, which provides powerful psychological motivation. The debt avalanche method takes a different approach, by targeting the highest interest rate debt first. Mathematically, this saves you the most money over time because you're eliminating the most expensive debt first. You still make minimum payments on everything, but your extra payments go toward the debt with the highest interest rate, regardless of balance size. Both methods work, but the best choice depends on your personality and situation. If you need quick wins to stay motivated, the snowball method might be better. If you're disciplined and want to minimize the total interest paid, the avalanche method could be your choice. Some people find success with a hybrid approach, where they pay off one small debt quickly for motivation, then switch to attacking high-interest debt. The power of either method comes from the snowball effect. As you eliminate each debt, you take the full payment amount you were making and add it to the next debt on your list. This means your payments get larger and larger as you progress, dramatically accelerating your debt elimination in the later stages. Creating your debt elimination plan requires gathering all your debt information in one place. List every debt you owe, including the creditor name, current balance, minimum monthly payment, and interest rate. This comprehensive view might feel overwhelming at first, but it's essential for creating your strategy. Many people are surprised to discover they have more or less debt than they thought once everything is written down clearly. Your debt elimination plan should include specific target dates for when each debt will be paid off. This transforms an abstract goal into concrete milestones you can track and celebrate. Write down the month and year you expect to eliminate each debt, and update these projections as you make progress or if your financial situation changes. Consider whether refinancing or consolidating any of your debts makes sense. Refinancing means replacing an existing loan with a new one that has better terms, usually a lower interest rate. This can be particularly effective with high-rate credit cards, where you might qualify for a personal loan at a lower rate. However, be careful not to fall into the trap of freeing up credit lines only to accumulate new debt. Balance transfers can be another powerful tool if used correctly. Many credit cards offer promotional periods where you can transfer existing balances at zero or very low interest rates. This can provide breathing room to pay down principal faster, but these promotions are temporary, and the regular rate often kicks in after 6 to 18 months. Have a clear plan to pay off the transferred balance before the promotional rate expires. Debt consolidation loans combine multiple debts into a single payment, potentially at a lower overall interest rate. This can simplify your financial life and reduce your monthly obligations. However, consolidation only works if you address the underlying spending habits that created the debt in the first place. Otherwise, you might find yourself with both a consolidation loan and new debt accumulated on the credit accounts you just paid off. For specific types of debt, different strategies might apply. Student loans often have unique repayment options, including income-driven plans that adjust your payment based on your earnings. Some forgiveness programs exist for people in certain professions or situations. However, be cautious about extended repayment plans that lower your monthly payment but dramatically increase the total interest you'll pay over time. Auto loans are typically secured by the vehicle itself, which means the lender can repossess the car if you stop making payments. If your car loan has a high interest rate, refinancing might be possible, especially if your credit score has improved since you originally took out the loan. However, be aware that cars lose value quickly, and you want to avoid being upside down on the loan for too long. Mortgages deserve special consideration because they're typically the largest debt most people carry. While paying off your mortgage early can provide peace of mind, it's not always the best financial decision. Mortgage interest rates are often relatively low, and the interest may be tax-deductible. Sometimes it makes more sense to make minimum mortgage payments while directing extra money toward higher-rate debt or investments. The emotional side of debt elimination is just as important as the mathematical side. Debt can create feelings of shame, stress, and hopelessness that make it harder to stick to your plan. Recognize that these feelings are normal and temporary. Focus on the progress you're making rather than how far you still have to go. Finding extra money to accelerate your debt payments often requires creativity and sacrifice. Look for expenses you can cut temporarily while you're in debt elimination mode. This might mean eating out less frequently, canceling subscriptions you don't use regularly, or finding less expensive alternatives for entertainment. Every dollar you free up can be redirected toward debt payments, shortening your timeline significantly. Consider ways to increase your income temporarily while you're paying off debt. This might involve working extra hours, taking on freelance projects, or selling items you no longer need. A temporary increase in income combined with temporarily reduced expenses can create a powerful 1-2 punch that accelerates your debt freedom date. Stay accountable by tracking your progress regularly. Update your debt balances monthly and celebrate the milestones along the way. Some people find it helpful to create a visual representation of their progress, such as a chart or thermometer showing how much debt they've eliminated. These visual reminders can provide motivation during difficult moments. Setbacks are part of the process. If you miss a month or have to take on unexpected debt due to an emergency, don't abandon your plan entirely. Adjust your timeline if necessary and get back on track as soon as possible. The key is persistence, not perfection. Building your one-page debt elimination plan should include your complete debt list arranged in the order you'll pay them off, your target payoff dates, and your monthly payment strategy. This document becomes your roadmap to freedom, a tangible reminder of your commitment to eliminating debt from your life. Review and update it regularly as you make progress, and keep it somewhere you'll see it often as motivation to stick to your plan. 5. Earn more on command. You can cut expenses down to rice and beans, skip every coffee, and clip every coupon. But there comes a point where you hit a wall. You cannot budget your way to wealth. The mathematics are simple and unforgiving. If you want to build serious money, you must focus on the bigger side of the equation. You must earn more. Most people approach earning more like they approach dieting. They make grand promises, set unrealistic goals, then give up when things get difficult. They dream about winning the lottery or stumbling into a perfect opportunity, but they never take the concrete steps that actually increase income. The truth is that earning more money is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and mastered. The foundation of earning more starts with understanding your current value in the marketplace. Your income reflects what others are willing to pay for your time, skills, and results. If you want more money, you need to become more valuable. This means developing skills that are in demand, learning to communicate your worth effectively, and positioning yourself where the money flows. Think about the people you know who earn significantly more than you do. What do they have that you don't? In most cases, it's not luck, connections, or natural talent. It's usually a combination of valuable skills, confidence in asking for what they want, and the ability to deliver results that matter to others. These are all learnable traits. The fastest way to earn more is often to negotiate a raise in your current position. You already have established relationships, proven performance, and insider knowledge of what your company values. Yet most people never ask for more money, or they ask in ways that make it easy for their manager to say no. Successful salary negotiation begins long before you walk into that meeting. You need to build what economists call career capital. This means consistently delivering excellent work, taking on responsibilities that matter to the organization, and developing skills that are difficult to replace. When you ask for more money, you want your manager to think, "We cannot afford to lose this person." The timing of your request matters enormously. The best moments to negotiate are after you have delivered a significant win, during annual review periods, when you have taken on new responsibilities, or when you have received an offer from another company. Never negotiate when budgets are tight, your manager is stressed, or your performance has been inconsistent. Prepare for the conversation like you are presenting a business case, because that is exactly what you are doing. Document your achievements, research what others in similar roles are earning, and practice your presentation until you can deliver it confidently. Focus on the value you bring to the organization, not on your personal financial needs. Your manager cares about results, not about your rent payment. When you make your request, be specific about the amount you want and justify it with concrete examples of your contributions. Instead of saying you deserve more money, show how you have saved money, generated revenue, improved processes, or solved important problems. Have a number in mind that represents what you actually want, then ask for slightly more to give yourself negotiating room. Be prepared for objections and have responses ready. If they say budgets are tight, ask what you would need to accomplish to earn the raise in the next review period. If they say you lack experience, ask what specific skills or achievements would make you ready for the increase. Turn every objection into a roadmap for getting what you want. Sometimes the answer will be no, and you need to be prepared for that possibility. Ask what you would need to do to earn a yes in the future. Get that commitment in writing, then deliver on those requirements. If your current employer consistently refuses to pay you fairly despite excellent performance, it may be time to find someone who will. While negotiating your current salary is often the fastest path to more money, building additional income streams creates both security and opportunity. The key is choosing approaches that align with your existing skills and schedule constraints. You want to earn more money, not burn yourself out or compromise your primary income source. The simplest approach is often freelancing or consulting in your current field of expertise. You already have the skills, understand the market, and can command premium rates for specialized knowledge. Start small by taking on projects for former colleagues or companies in your network. As you build a reputation and client base, you can gradually increase your rates and availability. Many people make the mistake of undercharging for freelance work because they compare it to their hourly salary. Freelance rates need to account for inconsistent work, additional taxes, lack of benefits, and the time you spend finding clients. A good rule of thumb is to charge at least double what you earn per hour in your regular job. Side businesses can generate more money than freelancing, but they also require more time and energy to build. The most successful side businesses solve real problems for specific groups of people. Look for situations where you have expertise, there is clear demand, and you can deliver value efficiently. Avoid the temptation to chase every opportunity or trend you hear about. Focus on one approach, give it adequate time and energy, then evaluate whether it is working. Most people fail at earning more money because they jump from idea to idea without giving anything enough time to succeed. The internet has created unprecedented opportunities for earning money, but it has also created competition from around the world. To succeed, you need to find ways to stand out from the crowd. This usually means specializing in a particular niche, building a reputation for quality work, or offering something that cannot easily be automated or outsourced. Pricing your services correctly is one of the most important skills you can develop. Most people price too low because they fear losing customers, but low prices often signal low quality. Research what others charge for similar services, Consider the value you provide to clients. And remember that some people will always choose based on price, while others will pay premium rates for superior service. Building systems for finding and serving clients will determine your long-term success. Word-of-mouth referrals are often the best source of new business, so focus obsessively on delivering excellent results for every client. Happy clients not only return for more work, they also recommend you to others who need similar services. Learning to sell your services effectively is crucial for earning more money. Many people with excellent technical skills struggle to communicate their value to potential clients. Practice explaining what you do in simple terms. Focus on the results you deliver rather than the process you use, and always be prepared to provide examples of your work. Keep detailed records of all your additional income for planning and reporting purposes. Set aside money for obligations you may have forgotten about, and reinvest some of your earnings back into developing your skills or improving your services. Treat your additional income streams like real businesses, not hobbies. The most successful people at earning more money think long-term about building their reputation and capabilities. Every project is an opportunity to learn new skills, build relationships, and create examples of excellent work. Focus on becoming the type of person who commands premium rates, and the money will follow naturally. Earning more money is not just about working more hours. It is about working smarter, developing valuable skills, and positioning yourself where opportunities exist. Start with small steps, build momentum through consistent action, and always be learning and improving your approach. Your ability to earn money will largely determine your financial future. While saving and investing are important, your income is the engine that powers everything else. Invest in yourself, ask for what you deserve, and never stop looking for ways to create more value for others. The market rewards value, and there is no limit to how valuable you can become. 6. Save smarter, not harder. Tiny frictions, massive gains, automate the boring wealth. Most people think saving money requires massive willpower and constant sacrifice. They imagine themselves clipping coupons, denying every pleasure, and living first, like monks, until they reach some magical number in their bank account. This approach fails almost every time because it fights against human nature instead of working with it. The secret to saving isn't about becoming a different person or developing superhuman discipline. It's about creating systems that make saving automatic and effortless. The wealthy understand something that average earners miss completely. They don't save more because they have stronger willpower or because they love deprivation. They save more because they've designed their financial lives to make saving the easiest choice. When your money moves automatically into savings before you ever see it, you don't have to make daily decisions about whether to save or spend. The choice has already been made for you by your past self when you were thinking clearly and planning for your future. Your savings rate matters more than almost any other financial metric when you're building wealth. A person earning $50,000 who saves 20% will become wealthy faster than someone earning $100,000 who saves 5%. The math is simple, but the psychology is everything. Most people focus on earning more money while completely ignoring how much they actually keep. This backwards approach explains why so many high earners live paycheck to paycheck while some modest earners retire early. The optimal savings rate depends on your life stage and goals, but there are general guidelines that work for most situations. In your 20s, aim to save at least 15% of your gross income. This might seem impossible at first, but remember that this includes any employer matching in retirement accounts. In your 30s, push this to 20%, as your income typically grows faster than your expenses. By your 40s, 25% becomes the target, as you realize retirement isn't some distant dream, but an approaching reality. These percentages might shock you. If you're currently saving 3 or 5%, but they're achievable when you build the right systems. Start where you are and increase your savings rate by 1% every few months. Most people never notice a 1% change in their take-home pay. But over time, these small increases compound into wealth-building machines. The foundation of smart saving is choosing the right vehicles for your money. Your regular bank savings account paying virtually nothing in interest is stealing your purchasing power through inflation. High-yield savings accounts offer significantly better returns while maintaining the same safety and liquidity. The difference between earning 0.01% and 2% might seem small, but on $10,000, that's the difference between earning $1 and $200 per year. Online banks typically offer the highest interest rates because they don't have the overhead costs of physical branches. These accounts are just as safe as traditional bank accounts because they carry the same government insurance protection. Moving your emergency fund to a high-yield account is one of the easiest ways to boost your returns without taking any additional risk. Certificates of deposit can play a role in your savings strategy when you have money you won't need for a specific period. They typically pay higher rates than savings accounts in exchange for locking up your funds for months or years. The key is never to put money into certificates that you might need before they mature, as early withdrawal penalties will eliminate any extra interest you've earned. Cash ladders represent a more sophisticated approach, using multiple certificates with different maturity dates. You might buy 5 one-year certificates, spacing the purchase dates 3 months apart. As each certificate matures, you reinvest the proceeds into a new 1-year certificate. This strategy provides regular access to your money while capturing higher certificate rates instead of keeping everything in savings accounts. Sinking funds transform large, irregular expenses from financial emergencies into planned events. Instead of panicking when your car needs repairs or scrambling to pay for holiday gifts, you save small amounts throughout the year earmarked for these predictable costs. A vacation fund that accumulates $50 per month gives you $600 for travel by year-end without impacting your monthly budget or forcing you to use credit cards. The psychology of sinking funds is powerful because they make large purchases feel affordable. Saving $200 monthly for 10 months makes a $2,000 expense manageable, while trying to pay $2,000 all at once can devastate your finances. Many people resist this approach because they don't want to wait. But wealthy people understand that patience in saving creates freedom in spending. Health savings accounts represent one of the most powerful savings tools available, offering triple tax advantages that no other account provides. You get a tax deduction for contributions, tax-free growth while the money sits in the account, and tax-free withdrawals when used for qualified medical expenses. After age 65, you can withdraw money for any purpose, paying only regular income taxes like a traditional retirement account. The strategic approach to health savings accounts involves paying current medical expenses out of pocket when possible and letting your account balance grow for decades. Keep receipts for all medical expenses you pay yourself, as you can reimburse yourself tax-free years later. This turns your health savings account into a stealth retirement account with incredible tax benefits. Flexible spending accounts work differently, but can still provide valuable benefits. These accounts let you pay for medical and dependent care expenses with pre-tax dollars, effectively giving you a discount equal to your tax bracket percentage. The major drawback is the use it or lose it rule, so only contribute amounts you're confident you'll spend within the plan year. Automation is the secret weapon that makes all these saving strategies work effortlessly. Set up automatic transfers that move money from your checking account to various savings goals on the same day you receive your paycheck. When your savings happens before you see the money, you naturally adjust your spending to your new, lower balance. This approach eliminates the mental energy required to constantly decide whether to save or spend. The timing of automatic transfers matters more than most people realize. Schedule them for 1 or 2 days after your paycheck arrives, ensuring the money is available but moving it before you get accustomed to seeing the larger checking account balance. This small detail prevents the psychological pain of watching money leave your account after you've mentally spent it. Multiple savings accounts for different goals might seem complicated, but they provide clarity and motivation that single accounts cannot match. Watching your vacation fund grow feels different than seeing a generic savings balance increase. Many online banks offer the ability to create multiple savings accounts with custom names, making it easy to track progress toward various goals. The key to making multiple accounts work is keeping the system simple enough to manage without becoming a part-time bookkeeper. 3 to 5 different savings goals represent the upper limit for most people. Beyond that number, the system becomes too complex to maintain consistently. Emergency funds deserve special attention because they provide the foundation for all other financial goals. Without adequate emergency savings, any unexpected expense forces you to either go into debt or raid other savings accounts intended for different purposes. This disrupts your entire financial plan and creates stress that could be easily avoided. The traditional advice suggests 3 to 6 months of expenses in emergency funds, but this one-size-fits-all approach ignores individual circumstances. Someone with very stable employment and multiple income sources might function well with 3 months of expenses saved. A person with variable income or working in an unstable industry should target closer to 12 months of expenses. Your emergency fund should live in a boring, safe account that you can access quickly when needed. This is not the place to chase higher returns or worry about inflation. The purpose of emergency money is insurance, not investment. Keep it liquid, keep it safe, and keep it separate from your other accounts to avoid temptation during non-emergency situations. Building substantial savings requires a shift in perspective about money and time. Instead of viewing saving as punishment or deprivation, successful savers see it as paying their future selves first. Every dollar saved today is a dollar that will work for you tomorrow, generating returns and providing options that spending cannot create. The compound effect of consistent saving extends far beyond the mathematical returns on your money. Having substantial savings changes how you make decisions, negotiate with employers, and respond to opportunities. When you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you can take calculated risks, leave bad situations, and invest in yourself in ways that create even more wealth. Smart saving isn't about perfection or never enjoying your money. It's about creating systems that automatically secure your future while allowing you to spend freely on the things that matter most to you. When your savings run on autopilot, you can focus your mental energy on earning more money and making better decisions instead of constantly worrying about whether you're saving enough. The person who saves smartly today becomes the person who has choices tomorrow. Those choices compound over time into the ultimate luxury, true financial freedom. Number 7. Invest like a pro without being one. The market rewards patience, discipline, and low fees. There's a famous story about a janitor named Ronald Reed who died in 2014 and left behind an $8 million fortune. He never earned more than a modest salary, never inherited money, and never hit the lottery. Instead, he quietly invested in simple, well-known companies for decades and let time work its magic. Meanwhile, countless high-income professionals who earned 10 times his salary struggled to build wealth because they either never started investing or made it far too complicated. This story illustrates the most important truth about investing. You don't need to be brilliant, wealthy, or connected to build serious money through the markets. You simply need to understand a few basic principles and have the discipline to stick with them over time. The wealthy don't have secret knowledge that's hidden from everyone else. They just start earlier, stay consistent, and avoid the common mistakes that derail most people. The foundation of all investing success is understanding the concept of compounding. When you invest money, you earn returns not just on your original investment, but on all the returns that investment has generated over time. This means your money grows exponentially rather than in a straight line. A simple example shows the power. If you invest $10,000 and earn 7% annually, you'll have about $20,000 after 10 years. But after 20 years, you'll have nearly $40,000. And after 30 years, you'll have over $76,000. Notice how the growth accelerates over time. That's compounding at work. The key to making compounding work for you is starting as early as possible and staying invested for as long as possible. Time is the most powerful factor in building wealth through investing, more important than how much money you start with or how smart your investment choices are. A person who starts investing $200 per month at age 25 will likely have more money at retirement than someone who starts investing $500 per month at age 45, even though the second person invests much more money each month. This is why the most successful investors focus on time in the market rather than timing the market. Trying to predict when markets will go up or down is a losing game, even for professionals. Studies consistently show that people who try to jump in and out of the market based on predictions end up with lower returns than those who simply buy and hold quality investments through all market conditions. The market goes through natural cycles of ups and downs. But over long periods, it has consistently trended upward, rewarding patient investors. Understanding risk is equally important as understanding time. Many people think risk means the chance of losing money. But in investing, risk and return are directly connected. Generally speaking, investments with higher potential returns also come with higher potential for short-term volatility. The key is matching your risk tolerance with your time horizon. If you need money in the next few years, you should keep it in safe, easily accessible accounts even if the returns are lower. But if you're investing for goals that are decades away, you can typically handle more volatility in exchange for higher long-term returns. The most important investment vehicle for building long-term wealth is the stock market. But you don't need to pick individual companies or try to outsmart professional money managers. Index funds offer a simple way to own a piece of hundreds or thousands of companies with a single purchase. When you buy an index fund, you're essentially buying a tiny slice of the entire market, which means your success is tied to the overall growth of the economy rather than the performance of any single company. Index funds have several advantages over other investment approaches. First, they provide instant diversification, meaning your money is spread across many different companies and industries. If one company fails or one industry struggles, you're protected by all the other holdings in the fund. Second, they have very low fees because they don't require teams of expensive analysts trying to pick winning companies. These low fees might seem insignificant, but they compound over time, just like your returns do. A fund that charges 2% annually will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars more over your lifetime compared to a fund that charges less than 1% annually. The beauty of index funds is that they remove the need for you to research individual companies, predict market movements, or make complex investment decisions. You're simply betting on the long-term growth of human innovation and economic progress, which has been a winning bet throughout history, even during periods that include major wars, economic depressions, and financial crises. Patient investors who stayed the course have been rewarded over time. Dollar-cost averaging is a strategy that makes investing even simpler and more effective. Instead of trying to invest a large sum all at once, you invest the same amount at regular intervals, regardless of what's happening in the market. This approach has two major benefits. It removes the pressure of trying to time your investments perfectly, and it actually improves your returns by ensuring you buy more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high. When you set up automatic investments from your paycheck, you're using dollar-cost averaging without even thinking about it. One of the biggest mistakes new investors make is getting caught up in market noise and making emotional decisions. The financial media makes money by keeping you engaged, which means they focus on daily market movements, dramatic predictions, and conflicting expert opinions. None of this information helps you build long-term wealth, and most of it will tempt you to make counterproductive decisions. Successful investors learn to tune out the noise and stick to their long-term plan regardless of short-term market fluctuations. Another common mistake is trying to get rich quick through complex strategies, hot tips, or trendy investments. These approaches almost always backfire because they're based on speculation rather than sound investing principles. The most reliable path to wealth through investing is also the most boring. Consistently investing in low-cost, diversified funds over many years. There's no excitement, no bragging rights, and no get-rich-quick stories. But there's also no drama, no sleepless nights, and no catastrophic losses. The difference between successful and unsuccessful investors often comes down to behavior rather than knowledge. You can understand all the principles of good investing, but if you panic and sell during market downturns or get greedy and chase hot investments during good times, you'll sabotage your long-term success. The investors who build the most wealth are those who can stay calm and stick to their plan when everyone around them is panicking or getting overly excited. This is why having a simple, written investment plan is so valuable. When markets get volatile and emotions run high, you can refer back to your plan and remind yourself why you chose your approach. Your plan doesn't need to be complex. It might simply state that you'll invest a certain amount each month in a broad market index fund, regardless of market conditions, and you won't make changes unless your life situation changes significantly. Starting your investment journey doesn't require a large amount of money or extensive research. You can begin with whatever amount you can afford to invest consistently, even if it's just $50 per month. Many investment platforms now allow you to start with no minimum balance and offer fractional shares, meaning you can buy a piece of expensive investments even with small amounts of money. The most important step is simply to start, because every day you delay is a day that compounding can't work for you. The market truly does reward patience, discipline, and low fees, but only if you give it the chance. Your job isn't to beat the market or find the next big winner. Your job is to harness the power of compounding by investing consistently in low-cost, diversified funds and staying the course through all market conditions. This approach has created more millionaires than any other investment strategy, and it's available to anyone willing to start today and stick with it for the long term. Pick a low-cost, total market index fund and set up that monthly contribution, for your future self will thank you for taking this simple but powerful step. 8. The simple portfolio that wins complexity is a fee. Simplicity is an edge. After years of watching friends agonize over picking individual companies, timing market entries, and chasing the latest hot investment trends, I've learned something profound about building wealth through investing. The people who get rich slowly and surely aren't the ones with the most complicated strategies or the most exotic holdings. They're the ones who build simple, boring portfolios and stick with them through thick and thin. Think of your investment portfolio like a garden. You could plant dozens of different vegetables, each requiring specific soil conditions, watering schedules, and care routines. Or you could plant a few hardy varieties that grow well together, require similar care, and produce abundant harvests year after year. The master gardener understands that success comes not from complexity, but from choosing the right foundation and tending it consistently. The investment world wants you to believe that building wealth requires sophisticated strategies, constant monitoring, and insider knowledge. Financial magazines fill their pages with stock picks, market timing advice, and complex strategies that sound impressive but often underperform simple approaches. The truth is that the most successful long-term investors use surprisingly straightforward methods that anyone can understand and implement. Asset allocation forms the backbone of any winning portfolio. This simply means dividing your money between different types of investments based on your age, goals, and comfort with risk. A 25-year-old saving for retirement can handle more volatility than a 60-year-old planning to stop working in 5 years. The younger investor might put 90% of their money in growth-oriented investments and 10% in stable, income-producing assets. The older investor might flip that ratio, prioritizing stability over growth potential. The beauty of proper asset allocation lies in its automatic rebalancing effect on your emotions and your returns. When growth investments perform well, you naturally have more money at risk. When they struggle, you have less exposed to volatility. This built-in mechanism helps you buy low and sell high without trying to time the market or predict the future. Consider the 3-fund portfolio, a strategy that has created more millionaires than any complex trading system ever invented. This approach uses just 3 types of investments: domestic market funds that own pieces of companies in your home country, international funds that own companies around the world, and bond funds that provide stability and income. That's it. No individual stock picking, no sector betting, no cryptocurrency speculation. A typical 3-fund portfolio might allocate 60% to domestic investments, 20% to international markets, and 20% to bonds. This gives you ownership in thousands of companies across the globe, while maintaining some stability through fixed income investments. As you get older, you gradually shift more money toward bonds and less toward growth investments, but the basic structure remains the same for decades. Target date funds offer an even simpler approach for people who want professional management without high fees. These funds automatically adjust their allocation as you approach your target retirement date, becoming more conservative over time. You pick the fund closest to when you plan to retire, contribute money regularly, and let the fund handle all the rebalancing and allocation decisions. While not quite as cost-effective as building your own 3-fund portfolio, target date funds remove all the guesswork and maintenance from investing. The key to any successful portfolio lies in understanding rebalancing, the process of periodically adjusting your holdings back to your target allocation. Imagine you start the year with 60% in domestic investments and 40% in bonds. If domestic investments have a great year and bonds struggle, you might end the year with 70% in domestic investments and 30% in bonds. Rebalancing means selling some of your domestic holdings and buying more bonds to get back to your 60-40 split. This process feels uncomfortable because it requires selling investments that have done well and buying investments that have struggled. However, this disciplined approach forces you to take profits from overvalued areas and put money into undervalued areas. Over long periods, this systematic buying low and selling high adds meaningful returns to your portfolio without requiring any market predictions or timing skills. Most successful investors rebalance once or twice per year rather than constantly adjusting their portfolios. Some use calendar-based rebalancing, checking their allocation every 6 months regardless of market performance. Others use threshold-based rebalancing, only making changes when their allocation drifts more than 5 or 10 percentage points from their target. Both approaches work well as long as you stick with your chosen method consistently. Understanding the order of operations for different types of investment accounts can save you thousands in taxes over time. Most financial advisors recommend contributing to accounts in this sequence. First, contribute enough to your employer retirement plan to get any matching contributions, since this represents free money. Second, maximize contributions to health savings accounts if available, as these offer triple tax advantages. Third, contribute to individual retirement accounts up to the annual limit. Finally, invest additional money in regular taxable accounts. This sequence prioritizes tax-advantaged accounts that let your money grow without annual tax drag. Money in retirement accounts can compound for decades without generating taxable events, while money in regular accounts faces taxes on dividends, interest, and any sales that generate profits. The difference compounds significantly over time, making account selection almost as important as investment selection. Your investor policy statement serves as your North Star during volatile markets and emotional moments. This one-page document outlines your goals, timeline, risk tolerance, asset allocation, and rebalancing rules. Writing this when markets are calm and your thinking is clear helps you make rational decisions when fear or greed might otherwise lead you astray. A good investor policy statement answers several key questions. Why are you investing? And what specific goals are you trying to achieve? How much volatility can you handle without losing sleep or abandoning your plan? What asset allocation best balances your need for growth with your tolerance for risk? How often will you rebalance? And under what conditions will you consider changing your strategy? The most important part of any investor policy statement involves identifying the circumstances under which you might modify your approach. Major life changes like marriage, children, job loss, or inheritance might justify adjusting your strategy. Market volatility, economic uncertainty, or temporary poor performance should not trigger changes to a well-designed long-term plan. Many investors sabotage their success by constantly tinkering with their portfolios, chasing performance, or abandoning their strategy during difficult periods. The investor policy statement serves as a written reminder of your long-term thinking during short-term emotional moments. When you feel tempted to make dramatic changes, you can refer back to your policy statement and remember why you chose your current approach. Building wealth through investing requires patience, discipline, and a willingness to stay boring when everyone else is getting exciting. The simple portfolio wins not because it generates the highest returns in any single year, but because it generates good returns consistently while keeping fees low and emotions in check. Complexity might make you feel sophisticated, but simplicity makes you rich. The most successful investors understand that time in the market beats timing the market, that low fees compound in your favor, and that staying the course during difficult periods separates winners from losers. Your portfolio doesn't need to impress anyone or generate conversation at parties. It just needs to quietly and efficiently turn your savings into financial freedom, one boring year at a time. 9. Keep more. Taxes made understandable. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Most people think taxes are something that happens to them, like bad weather or traffic jams. They file their return once a year, hope for a refund, and spend the rest of their time avoiding the topic entirely. This passive approach costs them thousands of dollars every single year. The wealthy think about taxes differently. They see the tax code as a set of rules in a game, and they learn those rules so they can play to win. The first rule of this game is understanding that you don't pay taxes on every dollar you make at the same rate. The tax system uses brackets, which means different portions of your income are taxed at different rates. Think of it like climbing a staircase, where each step up costs more than the last. If you're single and make $60,000, you don't pay 22% on all $60,000. You pay 10% on the first portion, 12% on the next chunk, and 22% only on the dollars that fall into that highest bracket you reach. This is your marginal tax rate, the rate you pay on your last dollar of income. Your effective rate is lower because it's the average across all those brackets. When someone says they don't want a raise because it will put them in a higher tax bracket, they're showing they don't understand how brackets work. You never take home less money by earning more, because only the extra income gets taxed at the higher rate. Your paycheck already has taxes taken out through withholding, which is essentially the government's way of collecting taxes as you earn rather than waiting until the end of the year. Your employer uses the information on your withholding form to estimate how much tax you'll owe and sends that money directly to the tax authorities. When you file your annual return, you're reconciling what was withheld with what you actually owe. If too much was withheld, you get a refund. If too little was withheld, you owe more. Many people love getting big refunds, but a refund simply means you overpaid during the year and gave the government an interest-free loan. You're better off having that money in your own accounts, where it can earn interest or be invested. If you consistently get large refunds or owe large amounts, you should adjust your withholding to get as close to breaking even as possible. The tax code offers two main ways to reduce your taxable income: deductions and credits. Deductions reduce the amount of income that gets taxed, while credits reduce your actual tax bill dollar for dollar. A $100 deduction saves you whatever your marginal tax rate is times 100. So if you're in the 22% bracket, that deduction saves you $22. A $100 credit saves you the full $100 in taxes. Every taxpayer gets to choose between taking the standard deduction or itemizing their deductions. The standard deduction is a flat amount that everyone can claim, no questions asked and no receipts required. For most people, this is the better choice, because it's larger than what they could claim by adding up individual deductions. You only benefit from itemizing if your total itemized deductions exceed the standard deduction amount. Common itemized deductions include mortgage interest, property taxes, charitable donations, and certain medical expenses. The key word here is certain, because the rules around what qualifies can be specific. Medical expenses, for example, generally need to exceed a percentage of your income before they become deductible. State and local taxes have limits on how much you can deduct. The mortgage interest deduction applies to loans up to a certain amount and only for your primary residence and one other home. If you're self-employed or have a business, the deduction landscape changes significantly. Business expenses that are ordinary and necessary for your work can be deducted, which might include equipment, supplies, travel, meals, and even a portion of your home if you use it exclusively for business. The home office deduction requires that space to be used regularly and exclusively for business, not just the kitchen table where you sometimes work on your laptop. Self-employed people also pay additional taxes to cover what employees split with their employers for certain programs. This self-employment tax covers your contributions as both the employee and the employer, but you get to deduct the employer portion when calculating your income tax. One of the most powerful tax strategies available to working people involves retirement accounts, specifically the choice between traditional and Roth options. With traditional accounts, you get a tax deduction now for the money you contribute, but you'll pay taxes when you withdraw the money in retirement. With Roth accounts, you pay taxes on the money now, but withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. The decision between traditional and Roth depends largely on whether you expect to be in a higher or lower tax bracket in retirement compared to now. If you're currently in a high tax bracket and expect to be in a lower one later, Traditional makes sense because you avoid high taxes now and pay lower taxes later. If you're in a lower bracket now but expect to be in a higher one later, or if you think tax rates in general will be higher in the future, Roth can be the better choice. For high earners, there's a strategy called the backdoor conversion that allows them to get money into Roth accounts even when their income is too high to contribute directly. This involves making a non-deductible contribution to a traditional account and then immediately converting it to a Roth account. The rules around this strategy can be complex, especially if you have other traditional accounts, so it's worth understanding thoroughly before implementing. Another tax strategy that many investors overlook is tax loss harvesting. When you have investments in taxable accounts that have lost value, you can sell them to realize the loss and use that loss to offset gains from other investments. If your losses exceed your gains, you can use up to a certain amount of the excess loss to offset ordinary income, and any remaining losses carry forward to future years. The key to tax loss harvesting is avoiding the wash sale rule, which prevents you from claiming a loss if you buy the same or a substantially identical investment within 30 days before or after the sale. You can work around this by buying a similar but not identical investment, such as selling one index fund and buying a different one that tracks a similar but not identical market segment. Tax planning becomes more complex but also more beneficial as your income rises and your financial situation becomes more sophisticated. If you have multiple types of accounts, you can be strategic about which accounts you withdraw from in retirement to manage your tax bracket. If you have periods of lower income, you might convert traditional retirement money to Roth accounts while you're in a lower bracket. The timing of certain financial moves can also affect your taxes. If you're planning to sell investments that have gained value, you might time the sale to occur in a year when you have losses to offset the gains, or when your income is lower for other reasons. If you're planning major charitable donations, you might bunch several years' worth of giving into 1 year to exceed the standard deduction threshold. For those who are married, the decision of whether to file jointly or separately can affect your total tax bill, though filing jointly is usually better. There are situations where separate filing makes sense, particularly when one spouse has large medical expenses or miscellaneous deductions that are limited by income levels. Understanding taxes isn't about becoming an expert in every nuance of the tax code. It's about understanding the basic principles well enough to make informed decisions throughout the year, not just when you file your return. Every financial decision has potential tax implications, from how much to contribute to retirement accounts, to when to sell investments, to which types of accounts to use for different goals. The goal isn't to pay zero taxes, which is generally impossible and often involves taking financial risks that aren't worth the tax savings. The goal is to pay your fair share and no more, while making financial decisions that align with your broader goals, rather than being driven purely by tax considerations. A strategy that saves you money on taxes, but requires you to take on excessive risk or tie up your money in ways that don't serve your needs, isn't a good strategy. Your quick win for this chapter is to look at your most recent tax return and identify any deductions or credits you might have missed. If you're employed, review your withholding to make sure you're not giving the government an interest-free loan through excessive withholding. Consider whether you're contributing enough to tax-advantaged accounts to get their full benefit. And if you have investments in taxable accounts, familiarize yourself with the basics of tax loss harvesting. These steps alone can keep more of your hard-earned money working for you rather than working for someone else. 10. Protect the bag. Insurance and legal basics. One bad event shouldn't erase a decade of progress. You could be the most disciplined saver, the smartest investor, and the shrewdest earner in your neighborhood. But without proper protection, a single unexpected crisis could wipe out everything you've worked to build. Think of insurance and legal safeguards as the fortress walls around your growing wealth. They're not glamorous, they don't generate returns, and they certainly don't make for exciting dinner conversation, but they're absolutely essential for anyone serious about building lasting financial security. Most people approach insurance backwards. They either buy too much of the wrong kind or avoid it entirely because it feels like throwing money away. The truth is, insurance isn't an investment, and it shouldn't be treated like one. Insurance is a transfer of risk. You pay a relatively small premium to shift the financial burden of a catastrophic event to an insurance company. When viewed this way, insurance becomes a powerful tool for protecting your wealth rather than a necessary evil that drains your bank account. Let's start with health insurance, which should be your absolute top priority. Medical bills are the leading cause of personal bankruptcy, and even a single emergency room visit can cost more than most people earn in a month. If you're employed, your employer likely offers group health insurance, which is almost always your best option due to the shared risk pool and employer contributions. If you're self-employed or your employer doesn't offer coverage, you'll need to purchase individual coverage through the health insurance marketplace or directly from an insurer. When choosing health insurance, focus on the total potential out-of-pocket costs rather than just the monthly premium. A plan with a lower premium might seem attractive, but if it has a high deductible and limited coverage, you could end up paying thousands more if you actually need medical care. Look at the annual deductible, out-of-pocket maximum, and covered services. The out-of-pocket maximum is particularly important because it caps your total annual medical expenses, providing a ceiling on your financial exposure. Term life insurance is the next essential coverage, but only if someone depends on your income. If you're single with no dependents, you probably don't need life insurance at all. However, if you have a spouse, children, or anyone else who relies on your earnings, term life insurance provides crucial financial protection at a fraction of the cost of permanent life insurance policies. The rule of thumb is to carry coverage equal to 10 to 12 times your annual income, though this can vary based on your specific situation and existing savings. Term life insurance is temporary coverage that lasts for a specific period, typically 10, 20, or 30 years. It's pure insurance with no investment component, which is exactly what you want. Whole life, universal life, and other permanent life insurance policies combine insurance with investments, but they're unnecessarily complex and expensive for most people. The investment returns are typically poor, the fees are high, and you're better off buying term insurance and investing the difference in low-cost funds. Disability insurance might be the most overlooked yet crucial protection you can buy. You're far more likely to become disabled and unable to work than you are to die during your working years. Yet most people have life insurance but no disability coverage. If you can't work, your income stops, but your expenses continue. Disability insurance replaces a portion of your income if you become unable to work due to illness or injury. Many employers offer short-term and long-term disability insurance as part of their benefits package, but the coverage is often limited. Group long-term disability typically replaces only 60 to 70% of your income and may have a relatively low maximum benefit. If your income is higher than average or you want more comprehensive coverage, you might need to supplement with individual disability insurance. When shopping for disability insurance, pay close attention to the definition of disability used in the policy. Own occupation coverage, which pays benefits if you can't perform your specific job, is more expensive but provides better protection than any occupation coverage, which only pays if you can't perform any job. Liability insurance protects you from lawsuits and claims that could devastate your finances. If you own a car, auto liability insurance is legally required in most states, but the minimum required coverage is often inadequate. Auto liability insurance covers damages you cause to other people and their property in an accident. If you cause a serious accident, the medical bills and property damage could easily exceed basic coverage limits, leaving you personally responsible for the difference. Homeowners insurance provides liability coverage for incidents that occur on your property, plus protection for your home and belongings. If someone is injured on your property and sues you, your homeowner's liability coverage would handle the legal defense and any settlement or judgment up to your policy limits. Renter's insurance provides similar liability protection and covers your personal belongings, even though you don't own the dwelling itself. Once your net worth reaches a certain level, typically around $300,000 to $500,000, you should consider umbrella insurance. An umbrella policy provides additional liability coverage that kicks in after your auto or homeowner's liability limits are exhausted. Umbrella insurance is relatively inexpensive for the amount of coverage it provides because major liability claims are statistically rare. $1 million umbrella policy might cost only a few $100s per year, but could protect your entire net worth from a catastrophic liability claim. Property insurance protects your physical assets from damage or theft. Homeowners insurance covers your dwelling, other structures on your property, and your personal belongings. However, standard policies have limits and exclusions that might leave you underinsured. High-value items like jewelry, art, or collectibles often need separate coverage through scheduled personal property endorsements or separate policies. Additionally, standard homeowners policies typically exclude flood damage, which requires separate flood insurance if you live in an area with flood risk. When it comes to insurance deductibles, choosing the right amount can significantly impact your premiums and out-of-pocket costs. A deductible is the amount you pay before insurance coverage kicks in. Higher deductibles mean lower premiums, but more out-of-pocket expense when you file a claim. The key is to set your deductibles at the highest level you can comfortably afford to pay in case of a loss. This approach minimizes your premium costs while still providing protection against truly catastrophic expenses. Beyond insurance, basic legal protections are essential for safeguarding your wealth and ensuring your wishes are carried out. A will is the foundation of any estate plan, regardless of your age or wealth level. A will specifies how your assets should be distributed after your death and can name guardians for minor children. Without a will, state law determines how your assets are distributed, which might not align with your wishes and could create complications for your family. Powers of attorney are equally important but often overlooked. A financial power of attorney gives someone you trust the authority to manage your financial affairs if you become incapacitated. A healthcare power of attorney, also called a healthcare proxy, allows someone to make medical decisions on your behalf if you're unable to do so. These documents ensure that your affairs can be handled promptly and according to your wishes, without the need for court intervention. Properly titling your accounts and naming beneficiaries can help your assets pass to your intended recipients quickly and efficiently. Bank accounts, retirement accounts, life insurance policies, and many other financial accounts allow you to name primary and contingent beneficiaries. When you die, these assets transfer directly to your named beneficiaries without going through probate, which can be time-consuming and expensive. Review and update your beneficiary designations regularly, especially after major life events like marriage, divorce, or the birth of children. Joint ownership with rights of survivorship is another way to ensure assets transfer smoothly. When one joint owner dies, the asset automatically becomes the sole property of the surviving owner. This can be useful for married couples, but should be used carefully, as joint ownership can have unintended consequences in some situations. Consider keeping important documents organized and accessible to your trusted family members or advisors. Create a simple document that lists your accounts, insurance policies, and important contacts. Store original documents in a fireproof safe or bank safety deposit box, but make sure someone you trust knows how to access them. Digital copies stored in a secure cloud service can provide additional backup and accessibility. Regular reviews of your insurance coverage and legal documents are crucial because your needs change as your life and financial situation evolve. Marriage, divorce, the birth of children, career changes, and increases in net worth all affect your insurance and estate planning needs. Set a reminder to review these protections annually or after any major life change. The cost of proper protection is minimal compared to the potential financial devastation of being uninsured or underinsured. Think of insurance premiums and legal fees as the price of peace of mind and financial security. You're not just protecting your current assets, you're protecting your future earning potential and your family's financial well-being. The money you spend on protection today could save you from losing everything you've worked to build tomorrow. 11. Property Playbook and Alternatives Real Estate can build wealth if you follow the numbers. The problem is, most people approach property with their hearts instead of their heads. They fall in love with granite countertops and forget to calculate cash flow. They listen to their brother-in-law's success story without understanding the full picture. They assume all real estate goes up in value, ignoring the carrying costs that can eat away at returns for years. Property represents one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available, but it also comes with unique risks and responsibilities that other investments don't carry. Unlike putting money into a fund and forgetting about it, real estate demands active management, whether you're living in it or renting it out. Understanding the true mathematics behind property decisions separates successful real estate investors from those who end up house poor or underwater on their investments. The foundation of smart real estate thinking starts with the rent versus buy calculation for your primary residence. Most people rely on outdated rules like renting is throwing money away or buying always builds wealth. The reality is far more nuanced. Whether buying makes sense depends on your local market conditions, how long you plan to stay, your down payment amount, and dozens of other factors that simple rules ignore. To properly evaluate rent versus buy, you need to compare the total cost of ownership against renting the equivalent property. The total cost includes your monthly payment, property maintenance, insurance, property management fees if applicable, opportunity cost on your down payment, and transaction costs spread over your expected holding period. Many first-time buyers forget that maintenance and repairs can easily add 20 to 30% to your monthly housing payment over time. The opportunity cost calculation is particularly important and often overlooked. If you put $50,000 down on a house, that money is no longer growing in other investments. You need to factor what that money could have earned elsewhere into your ownership costs. Similarly, the transaction costs of buying and selling real estate are substantial. Between realtor commissions, closing costs, inspections, and moving expenses, you might spend 8 to 10% of the home's value just to get in and out of the transaction. The break-even analysis typically shows that you need to stay in a home for at least 5 to 7 years for buying to make financial sense over renting. If you're likely to move sooner, renting often provides better financial flexibility and lower total costs. This math doesn't make buying wrong, but it helps you make the decision based on numbers rather than emotions or social pressure. For those considering investment property, the mathematics become even more critical. Successful rental property investing requires understanding several key metrics that determine whether a property will generate positive cash flow and solid returns. The 1% rule serves as a quick screening tool, suggesting that monthly rent should equal at least 1% of the property's purchase price. While this rule has become harder to achieve in many markets, properties that fail this test typically struggle to generate positive cash flow after all expenses. Cash-on-cash return measures the annual cash flow generated relative to the cash invested. If you put $25,000 down on a property that generates $3,000 in annual cash flow after all expenses, your cash-on-cash return is 12%. This metric helps you compare real estate returns to other investment opportunities and evaluate whether the additional work and risk are worthwhile. The firsted capitalization rate, or cap rate, measures the property's net operating income relative to its market value. This metric helps you evaluate whether you're paying a reasonable price relative to the income the property generates. Higher cap rates generally indicate higher returns, but may also signal higher risk areas or properties that need more work. Successful rental property ownership requires accounting for all expenses, not just the obvious ones. Beyond your mortgage payment, you'll face property management costs, maintenance and repairs, vacancy periods, property management fees, insurance, and potential major capital expenditures like roof replacement or HVAC systems. Many new landlords underestimate these costs and find themselves with negative cash flow despite collecting rent. House hacking represents an innovative approach that can make investment property ownership more accessible. This strategy involves buying a small multifamily property, living in one unit while renting out the others. The rental income helps cover your mortgage payment while you build equity and gain landlording experience. This approach works particularly well for young people who can tolerate sharing walls with tenants and want to accelerate their wealth building. For those who want real estate exposure without direct property ownership, real estate investment trusts offer compelling alternatives. These companies own and operate income-producing real estate, allowing you to invest in commercial properties, apartment complexes, and other real estate ventures without the management responsibilities. REITs trade like other investments, providing liquidity that direct property ownership cannot match. REITs also provide diversification that individual property ownership lacks. Instead of having all your real estate wealth tied up in one local property, REITs let you own pieces of hundreds of properties across different markets and property types. This diversification reduces the risk that local economic problems or a single bad tenant could devastate your returns. Short-term rental platforms have created new opportunities for property investors willing to manage the additional complexity. Converting long-term rental properties to short-term rentals can significantly increase income in tourist-friendly areas, but it also brings new challenges. You'll need to manage bookings, coordinate cleaning between guests, handle more frequent maintenance issues, and navigate local regulations that may restrict short-term rentals. The mathematics of short-term rentals require careful analysis of occupancy rates, seasonal variations, and the additional expenses of frequent turnovers. What looks like dramatically higher income on a per-night basis may not translate to better returns once you account for the extra time, effort, and expenses involved. Beyond traditional real estate, alternative investments deserve consideration as part of a diversified wealth-building strategy. Private business investments, whether as a silent partner or through more formal structures, can provide returns that correlate differently with traditional markets. However, these investments typically require larger minimum investments, longer commitment periods, and more sophisticated evaluation skills. Peer-to-peer lending platforms allow you to become the bank, lending money directly to people or small businesses. While these platforms have faced challenges in recent years, they illustrate the broader principle of seeking returns from different sources than traditional investments. The key is understanding that higher potential returns almost always come with higher risks and less liquidity. Private real estate syndications offer another alternative, allowing groups of investors to pool money for larger commercial real estate deals. These investments typically require accredited investor status and substantial minimum investments, but they can provide access to institutional quality real estate deals with professional management. The common thread across all alternative investments is the need for thorough due diligence and realistic risk assessment. These investments often lack the regulatory protections and transparency of traditional markets. They may also have limited liquidity, meaning you cannot easily access your money if circumstances change. Never invest more in alternatives than you can afford to lose entirely, and never invest in anything you don't fully understand. Successful real estate and alternative investing requires patience, education, and realistic expectations. The stories of overnight fortunes typically omit the years of learning, the deals that didn't work out, and the ongoing management responsibilities that successful investors handle behind the scenes. Start small, learn from experience, and gradually build your knowledge and confidence before making larger commitments. The path to wealth through real estate and alternatives is available to anyone willing to learn the numbers and do the work. But it's not a shortcut to riches, and it's not suitable for everyone's situation or temperament. Approach these opportunities with the same disciplined, analytical mindset you bring to all your financial decisions, and they can become valuable components of your overall wealth-building strategy. 12. Your freedom number and 10-year plan. Put your money on autopilot and buy back your time. The moment you realize that money is simply a tool for buying back your time, everything changes. Most people spend their entire lives trading time for money, never stopping to calculate exactly how much money they need to reverse that equation. This chapter is about flipping the script entirely. Instead of working for money until you're too old to enjoy it, you're going to calculate your freedom number and create a 10-year plan that puts you in control of your time. Your freedom number is the amount of money you need, invested to live comfortably, without ever touching the principal. Think of it as your personal independence fund. When you reach this number, work becomes optional. You might choose to keep working because you love what you do, but you'll never again work because you have to pay the bills. This shift from necessity to choice represents true financial freedom. The calculation is surprisingly simple. Take your annual living expenses and multiply by 25. If you spend $40,000 a year, your freedom number is $1 million. If you spend $60,000, you need $1.5 million. The magic of this formula lies in something called the safe withdrawal rate, which suggests you can safely withdraw 4% of your invested money each year without running out. 4% of $1 million is $40,000, which covers your annual expenses while leaving the principal intact to keep growing. This 25 times rule isn't arbitrary. It's based on decades of financial research studying how long money lasts when withdrawn at different rates. The 4% withdrawal rate survived every historical market crash, recession, and period of inflation over the past century. When you have 25 times your annual expenses invested in a diversified portfolio, history suggests your money will last indefinitely, even through the worst economic storms. But here's where most people get the calculation wrong. They use their current expenses, including debt payments, high rent, and wasteful spending they could easily eliminate. Your freedom number should be based on your ideal lean expenses, not your current bloated budget. If you're spending $70,000 a year but could live happily on $50,000 by eliminating debt payments and unnecessary luxuries, use the $50,000 number. This drops your freedom number from $1.75 million to $1.25 million, shaving years off your timeline. The real power comes from working both sides of the equation. While you're building your investment portfolio toward that target number, you're also optimizing your expenses to bring the target down. Every $1,000 you cut from annual expenses reduces your freedom number by $25,000. Cut $5,000 in annual expenses and you just reduced your target by $125,000. That's often equivalent to several years of investing. Once you know your freedom number, the 10-year plan becomes a simple math problem. If you need $1 million and currently have $100,000 invested, you need to accumulate $900,000 more. Assuming 7% annual growth on your investments, you'd need to invest about $65,000 per year to hit your target in 10 years. If that seems impossible with your current income, you have 3 options: earn more, spend less, or extend your timeline. This is where the rubber meets the road. Most people discover their freedom number and immediately feel overwhelmed by how much they need to save and invest. But remember, you have multiple levers to pull. Increasing your income by $20,000 per year while cutting expenses by $10,000 creates $30,000 more annual investing capacity. That seemingly modest improvement can accelerate your timeline by years. The quarterly money review becomes your navigation system for staying on track. Every 3 months, you sit down with your numbers for 30 minutes. You check your net worth growth, review your spending against your lean budget, and calculate your progress toward your freedom number. This isn't about perfection or beating yourself up for small mistakes. It's about staying conscious and making small course corrections before small problems become big ones. During each quarterly review, ask yourself 3 simple questions. First, did my net worth grow this quarter? And if not, why? Second, did I stick to my spending plan? And what can I learn from any overspending? Third, what one change could I make in the next quarter to accelerate my progress? Maybe it's negotiating a small raise, cutting one subscription service, or increasing your automatic investment by $50 per month. The magic happens when you start thinking beyond traditional retirement at 65. Financial independence isn't about stopping work entirely, though you certainly can. It's about having enough money to make choices based on fulfillment rather than necessity. You might choose to work part-time at something you love, start a passion project that doesn't need to be profitable, or take extended breaks to travel or spend time with family. This concept of lifestyle design opens up possibilities that most people never consider. If your freedom number is based on living in an expensive city, what happens when you realize you could live somewhere with half the cost of living? Suddenly your timeline gets cut in half, or your quality of life doubles with the same timeline. Geographic arbitrage, where you earn money in a high-cost area but live in a low-cost area, can dramatically accelerate your path to freedom. Some people discover they don't want to wait 10 years for complete financial independence, so they create mini retirement goals along the way. Maybe at age 35, you take a 1-year sabbatical funded by 2 years of extra saving. Or perhaps you negotiate a 4-day work week once you have 2 years of expenses saved. These smaller freedom goals keep you motivated while working toward your bigger target. The withdrawal strategy becomes important as you approach your freedom number. The 4% rule is a guideline, not a rigid law. In years when your investments perform well, you might withdraw less and let the extra growth compound. In lean years, you might temporarily increase your withdrawal rate or find small ways to reduce expenses. The key is flexibility and having multiple options rather than being locked into one rigid plan. Sequence risk represents the biggest threat to your early financial independence plan. This is the risk of poor investment returns in the first few years after you stop working. If the market crashes right when you start withdrawing money, you could be forced to sell investments at low prices, potentially derailing your entire plan. The solution is building extra cushion into your plan. Instead of stopping work the moment you hit your freedom number, consider working 1 more year or building up 2 years of expenses in cash as a buffer. Your freedom number will evolve as your life changes. Marriage, children, health issues, or changing priorities might increase your target number. Conversely, paying off your house, developing lower-cost hobbies, or becoming more efficient with your spending might lower it. The number isn't set in stone. It's a dynamic target that should be recalculated annually as part of your planning process. The final piece is remembering that financial independence is about more than money. It's about designing a life that aligns with your values and gives you control over your time. The discipline required to reach your freedom number will teach you skills that extend far beyond money management. You'll become better at delayed gratification, long-term thinking, and making decisions based on your values rather than social pressure. Start today by calculating your freedom number based on your ideal lean expenses. Set up your quarterly review dates for the next year and commit to that 30-minute check-in with your progress. Most importantly, remember that every dollar you invest and every expense you optimize brings you one step closer to buying back your most precious resource, your time. The path to financial independence isn't about deprivation or giving up everything you enjoy. It's about being intentional with your money so you can be intentional with your life. Your freedom number represents more than a financial target. It represents the moment when you transition from being owned by money to owning your choices.